Hi and welcome to the official Knight Knox launch of the Art School.
Yeah, I think a key note here is there's 43 apartments in total, and of course there's a few that really stand out, but they're all quite special, aren't they, in terms of size?
Some huge apartments in there.
Duplexes, loads of original features as well, which Tom will go into more detail about the project now.
So Victorian elegance meets modern living. So the building is a stunning stone-built Victorian building from the late 1800s, and it was converted into residential apartments back in 2014. And again, it's just been recently refurbished. So it was previously, before it was turned into a residential apartments, an art academy.
Yeah.
Hence the name Art School. So there are 43 apartments, mixture of 1 and 2 bedroom duplexes. So for those who aren't familiar with duplexes, it means that they are split over 2 levels. So there'll be a one level, the mezzanine level staircase, usually with the ground floor living area, with the bedrooms, bathrooms located on the first floor. So typically these are much larger than your usual apartment because of the stairs, because of the second level.
High ceilings, all those things you get with older properties, really, that you don't see in new builds. So.
And even more so with a development like this, you'll see from the pictures here now on screen that there are double vaulted ceilings. Yeah. The original features, there are huge windows. Some of the stone is in there. They've got kind of wood features throughout as well. So they're beautiful. The property's completed. They're tenanted now. So from an investment perspective, it's ready to go straight to where your income would start on the first working day of the month after you've completed on the property.
There's also parking as well, which is another benefit, and not always the case, especially in like city centre or town locations. So there is quite a good number of parking spaces here, so that's something to really add. And a mixture of 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms. So depending on budget or what you like to add into your portfolio, you really do have the option here.
So we've got 1 bedrooms here. They're going to start from 166,400. And the 2 bedrooms are 182,000. So there's 2 different price points there. Both generate a 10% net return. So for the 1 bedrooms, they're generating 16,640 per year. And for the 2 bedrooms, 18,200. Yeah. I think one of the main selling points of this development is these are big apartments, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what's an average 2 bedroom size now? 55 square metres?
Yeah, I mean, Manchester now, you're looking at 55, 60 square metres. So 650 square foot at a push. The average size for these 1 bedrooms here is 700. Yeah. With the largest being 900 square foot. So quite considerably bigger. The average size for the 2 bedrooms is 900 square foot.
Huge.
With the largest just under 1,200 square foot. Which means that the largest properties here are comfortably well under £200 per square foot, 150, 160 in some cases. So
I think that's actually larger than the apartment we're in now.
Yeah, quite a bit.
Plus with the high ceilings as well. So Tom just went over the figures there. So just to mention, that's actually a 10% net return, and obviously, following on from the webinar, that's fully repair and insuring, which means there'd be no deductions from those figures that he mentioned. So that's an annual minimum net income of £16,640. No service charge, no management fees, no maintenance. That's it. That's what you'd receive net.
We'll come back to that a little bit further down, just to go in a bit more detail. So I suppose the next question on everyone's lips will be, okay, so where is it? The Art School is located right in the centre of Darwen. So for those who are unfamiliar with Darwen, Darwen is a borough of Blackburn. It is Lancashire, so it's about an hour north of Manchester city centre where we are, around 20-30 minutes just north of Bolton, about 5-10 minutes south from Blackburn.
Yeah, a lot of our staff actually commute in from Manchester, don't they? So it's about max an hour in the car, something like that.
Yeah, at the most, yeah. And this is right in the very centre. So where this is located on School Street, you've got Market Square, which is just next to it, a 30-second walk. And that's to the south of the building. You've got open parks on the right. And then the Darwen train station is a 2-minute walk.
2 minutes.
So you've got the town hall, again, just next to Market Square. You've got the theatre, which is actually next door to this development, the Art School. You've got the local amenities. So you've got shops, you've got Asda, which is just around the corner, again about 30 seconds. Then you've also got the fire station and the police station, which are located just on Union Street, which connects to School Street. So you cannot get any more central to Darwen.
And also in terms of if you, obviously people, if they don't have a car, you're very close to like all the medical centres, the hospitals very close by as well. So you really do have everything on your doorstep there.
So I suppose you're probably thinking, well, why Darwen? Why have you chosen this particular one? Well, as those of you who've already spoken with us know, these properties are chosen based on location where there is huge demand for this kind of property. So we have properties across Yorkshire, across Lancashire. This one in particular was an outstanding opportunity, both in terms of the type of building that it is, the look of the building, the location, but also Darwen is a town that's really on the rise. Definitely.
And I think in line with the prices as well of this development, it's worth noting that the average house price in Darwen is 165,000, which hovers around the starting price for the properties in here, which is up massively really from last year, over 17%, which is huge.
Yeah, so in terms of what's happening in Darwen and around the area, so as I mentioned before, the library and the theatre, which is located next door, you'll be able to see that on the map here now. It's just had a £6.6 million renovation, and that only completed early this year. The Market Hall, which is it's around the time the central square, there's been £25 million spent on a new retail, new food hall, improved public spaces.
The youth centre.
The improvements in the town hall. There's loads of different things that are happening. In total, it's pushing towards £100 million worth of regeneration in the area in the last few years. And what that means is that Blackburn as a whole and the boroughs have had one of the highest increases in rents in the last 12 months.
Yeah, just over 10%.
10%, yeah. Second only in the UK to Belfast.
Yeah.
So in terms of one of the cities which has got huge demand and maybe not as big a supply of properties as we found, Blackburn really sets itself apart.
So moving on to the individual apartments, we've got Tom and I looked at the floor plans a little earlier today. So as always in a project, the ones we get in first get the best apartment. So just to reiterate, they're all duplexes. The 1 bedrooms, the 2 bedrooms, they're all of a great size, but there are a couple that really do stand out, and we've selected those. For example, we've got a 1 bedroom here. The price point 166, just over, which is 905 square foot, which is
massive,
huge, massive. And then the 2 bedroom option, if that's your preference, we've got one there which is on the first floor of the building, and that is just under 1150 square foot. They're priced at 182,000, both offering the 10% net return.
So when I was looking at the plans, I think that 2 bedroom they mentioned there, apartment 25, that one really stood out to me. So not only is it the biggest 2 bedroom in the entire building, it's also a corner apartment.
Yeah.
So the first floor, you've got the huge corner living area with an open plan kitchen. There's 5 windows.
The windows are massive.
And they're big, tall, floor to ceiling windows. So it's loads of light, loads of natural character.
Yeah.
You walk into the apartment, you've got your staircase on the left, the staircase takes you up. There's 2 really big bedrooms in there. You've got 1 bathroom upstairs, you've got 1 WC downstairs, and as I said, you've got the open plan kitchen living area. So with that, at that size of 1,140 square foot, it's £160 per square foot in terms of price.
Cheap.
Which is amazing. So it's good value. But on top of that as well, the fact that it's corner apartment, the fact that it is triple aspect, you're going to get a lot of light into the property.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, it's generating £18,200 net a year. It's getting £1,500 net a month.
Just on the layout as well, which is with 2 bedrooms, it can be quite hard to find, especially with older properties, how well proportioned the bedrooms are. So usually you have like 1 huge master and then a really small second bedroom. Looking at this, they're both really generous sizes. So again, quite a rarity that you don't get in these older characterful buildings. So yeah, those really do stand out. I mean, there's a couple which are similar-ish in terms of size.
Yeah.
But those are the ones that we earmarked.
And again, for the one bedroom there, the largest one, apartment 15, that one has, again, you walk in, you've got the staircase on your left, you've got a bathroom, you've got a huge living area with double windows there, goes into facing into the courtyard, and then up the stairs, you've got the bedroom there, you've got another bathroom. So again, huge space overlooking there for 900 square foot. That one, as we mentioned before, that's 166,000, just over, and that'll give you over 16,000 a year rental. So perfect for somebody who's looking for something that maybe stands out a little bit, that's going to be easy to rent out at any time if you ever wanted to use it yourself, or rent it out on a normal traditional residential basis once the kind of 25-year agreement ends, if it does indeed end. So these are real standout apartments that would rent very, very easily on the traditional residential market.
Definitely. And reverting back to the average prices in Darwen as well, you know, that they really are in line with that sort of trend.
So let's have a look at the investment breakdown. So we touched on this before. So let's use a one bedroom as an example, and we can go through the details. So purchase price is going to be 166,400. which is a 10% net return. That gives you £16,640 net per annum, which if you break that down monthly, it gives you £1,386. Works out to be about £320 per week, and that's the rent that's commissioned from the local council. It's £320 per week over a 52-week year.
Purchase process, if you like, in terms of the payment structure. Just a deposit of £5,000 is required, and then the balance, which of course goes off the purchase price of the property, and then the balance on completion, which would take place within a month of reservation, meaning your rental income would start imminently, straight away from your completion date.
So, as Rebecca mentioned earlier, one of the huge selling points of this is that there is no service charge, there is no ground rent, there's no management fee. Importantly, there's no repairs, there's no maintenance, there's no costs of any kind. You're not going to get a phone call in the night saying this is broken, that's broken, this needs replacing, this is going to be the cost of it. So these figures that we're giving you here, £320 per week, £1,386 a month, is completely and truly net, isn't it?
Correct. The only communication you'd have with the care provider would be your monthly rental income.
And then on top of those, so obviously when you've got the property purchase price, the only other additional cost that you'll need to consider will be stamp duty, land tax, SDLT.
We can't avoid that,
unfortunately. So as an additional property, which means you own a property already anywhere else in the world, for a UK resident, then stamp duty on a purchase price of £166,400 is going to be £9,148. And then for non-UK residents, it's £12,476. So that is a cost you need to factor in on top of the purchase price. In addition to that, there's legal fees. So legal fees, you will pay approximately £1,200 plus VAT and disbursements. So if you budget around £1,800 to £2,000 all in, that should cover you nicely.
For your closing costs.
Now, there are a couple of points here which are enhanced benefits of this type of property investment. So again, we discussed this at length on the previous webinar. But the first is the CPI rental increases.
Yeah, which is so important now, I think, you know, with a lot of new introductions into landlord policies and things like that, it's becoming increasingly harder to get rental, a rental uplift. This is factored in annually. So regardless of what happens, market conditions, you will see a CPI rental increase plus 1%. So that's written into contract, that happens automatically. So to break that down, obviously year one, as we discussed, it works out at 10%, which is £16,640 per year. Just to fast forward to year 10, you'd be looking at just short of a 12% net return, which would increase the rental income to just under £20,000 per year, £19,886. So you can see how that really significantly grows.
I think it's important to know here as well that is extremely conservative.
Certainly.
So the contract will state that the rents go up by minimum 1% a year. We've done those projections there on a 2% increase. So in truth, it's probably going to be more like 3% you'll get a year, because the government's target inflation is 2%.
Correct, yeah.
Your contract states you'll get plus 1% above that inflation rate. In the last 2-3 years, it's been 4, hasn't it? It's been 4.4 one year and 3.8 the other. So realistically, these projections here that we've done at 2% are very, very conservative. You should really be quite easily expecting kind of, if we're saying that in year 10 it's now just under 20,000 and that gives you 12%, there's no reason why you couldn't actually see, say, 13, 14%.
And that's no negotiations with rental management companies, tenants, regardless of the situation. That is written into contracts with no hardship for yourself. So that goes without saying. And then also, again, we did talk about this in quite a lot of detail in the webinar, but do you want to go into a bit more depth about the buyback option as well?
Yeah, certainly. So when you buy the property, there's an optional buyback in the contract, whereby the seller, in this case it's obviously the developer, can buy the property back from yourself within the first 3 years at an uplift to you. So you would get an additional 30% on whatever price you pay. So based on the price that we're talking here today, 166,400 for a 1-bedroom, 30% uplift will give you £216,000. If in that first 3 years the developer comes along and says, I'm going to buy this property back from you, you have to sell. But obviously you're going to get a 30% uplift. Now, we all know, unless you're doing something extremely hands-on, a flip maybe, getting a 30% uplift within the first 3 years is excellent, isn't it?
Yeah.
On top of that, you'll have had the 3 years of your annual rent as well. So if we run this projection, so you've had 3 years rent at, say, just over £16,000, you've had the 30% capital appreciation on the price that you've paid. As you can see from the numbers here, the capital appreciation comes out at about £49,000. The 3 years of rental comes out at just around £50,000. So your total profit on that, obviously not including any form of taxes there, is £100,000.
Yeah, gross of tax.
Yeah, so you've paid for the property itself £166,400 plus stamp and legals. It's a 60% ROI.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, just to reiterate on, if you took advantage of the 1-bedroom price point, 166, that means total money's back to you based on Tom's example there would be £268,000 just short of.
And now some people would see that as the worst case scenario, wouldn't they? So those who are looking for maybe a longer term rental property, if obviously the property is bought out, you've got the funds then, we can then look at maybe putting you into a similar opportunity once you find the right one. If this isn't bought out, again, it's an option to do so, then the rental will continue. You'll rent the property out for the full 25 years. And then after that, you own the property outright. The building lease is 999 years. So
massive selling point there, yeah.
Yeah, so this initial agreement is just for the first 25 years to manage it for you.
And there's nothing to stop if the 3 years after that, there's nothing to stop that you couldn't be approached about a potential buyback in the future. It's just it's more discretionary, isn't it, at that stage, if you wanted to sell the property, but you still own the asset, you still have the rental contract, everything's the same.
So final point is, obviously, main question is who's going to be managing the property for me and who's going to be living in the property.
Who's going to be paying me as well.
Yeah, who's going to be paying me, that's the most important thing. So these properties are managed by a local CBS, which is a Community Benefit Society. They are a housing association that specialise in helping tenants by providing housing and support and specialist care. Now this care can vary from everyday tasks up to higher levels of mental health care and everything in between. So we get a lot of questions, don't we, about how this works and how the tenants and how the rents are so high. So just to give you a brief overview, the Housing Association receive referrals from the local council. The local council currently has a problem, or many local councils across the country have a problem where a lot of tenants are going into emergency accommodation. Emergency accommodation is extremely expensive for councils. They can be paying £1,300–1,400 per week for these properties. So the Housing Association then receives the referrals from the council who want to remove these certain individuals from emergency accommodation.
Correct.
The Housing Association finds the suitable properties, and then they will then speak to the council and say, we've got X properties available. These are who they would be suitable for. The council will then send across the referrals. The council will then go and see the properties with the Housing Association before they sign that particular property off. And then that rent is then what we call commission. So then the rent would be agreed it'd be put onto the portal, which is between the Department of Work and Pensions and the Housing Association directly.
Yeah.
And then these rents then would start to come across immediately from the DWP to the Housing Association as soon as the tenant moves into the property.
Sounds like a very complex process, but obviously we're massively simplifying that in terms of this is already set up. They're very highly accredited within the market as well, and they've actually got a massive proven track record for managing residential blocks like this as well. So yeah, we really try to simplify this as much as possible.
For you, it's all done. All this process has already been done beforehand, before these properties are brought to the market. So the tenants are moving in, the properties have been refurbished, and it's a part where you'll start to receive your rents immediately.
Regardless of whether your particular apartment is occupied or not. I mean, there are always a wait list for them all, but if there's moving in and out, you don't get affected at all. There's no void periods, there's nothing.
There's hundreds and hundreds of referrals that aren't able to be housed at any one time. I think what a lot of people struggle to kind of understand is, well, how are the rents so high? Why can't the council just go and rent out a normal property
or buy one?
Buy one. So firstly, I mean, councils are not in a position financially to go and buy a load of properties to fit the demand that's needed for it. There's currently about 500,000 properties that are required at the moment, and that's going to grow by another about 40% in the next 4 or 5 years. So as we know, the UK has a huge housing problem anyway, so there's no way that the government and the councils will have the funds there to go and buy full properties outright. So that's not going to happen. Secondary is, why don't they go and rent individual properties? But then you've got an issue where you've got lots of tenants in various different places, which makes it more difficult for providing that level of care, providing that level of support, when they could have a purpose-built or purposely adapted building in one central location that houses everyone, and then they commission all the rents the same for that building. And the most important thing is this is a huge cost saving exercise for them, isn't it? Absolutely.
It really is. Like I said, they can't acquire them quick enough at the moment or fill them. We work with the Housing Association, the care provider, quite closely.
Yeah.
And obviously, please feel free to look at some of the videos as well that we've done with them recently. The CEO was in not long ago,
Chris, yeah,
and just talking through the process.
So just to recap then, we've got 43 self-contained 1 and 2 bedroom duplex apartments. Huge average size for the 1 bedroom, 700 square foot, for the 2 bedrooms, 900 square foot. These are on a 999-year lease. There's also 35 parking spaces available as well, which will be included within the deal. There's right to park. So the 1 bedrooms are priced at 166,640. The 2 bedrooms are priced at 182,000.
So the process is really simple. So initially, let's say you get in touch with us, we go through the floor plans, you select your apartment, a deposit of £5,000 is required, and a reservation form. We would assist with appointing a solicitor, and then you progress to exchange of contracts and completion simultaneously within a month of that reservation, and then start earning the rental income. As simple as that.
Perfect. So next steps then. So if you are interested, then fill out the form below. We'll send over details to you, including the brochure. We have floor plans, and we can send over a list of the best, biggest apartments available. Any questions, then feel free to speak directly with the consultant. But again, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.